Welcome back to Lantai Toyota's long form content. I'm going to try to speak really quietly because it's super echoey in this garage. But as you know, whenever you do a battery relocation kit on any vehicle, it instantly gets a horsepower boost, which means this anemic four-cylinder that makes 98 horsepower brand new and currently with like 250,000 miles probably makes a good whopping 50 horsepower, desperately needs a battery relocation kit. And don't mind the bumper. I definitely did not rip off when I moved my truck from the street parking to my garage. On a serious note, when I swap the four-cylinder in that has a turbo, the turbocharger goes right where the stock battery location is. So I genuinely do need a battery relocation kit. And I want to do all the things possible before doing a actual engine swap so that it can be basically as quick as possible getting the engine out and the engine in. Look at that fugly battery door. You're next, you little. Step one is to build the battery box and then see the two holes in here. We're going to use those to line up where we want our battery box. Now just make sure it's somewhat out of the way. I chose here. Some people go, rotate it at 90 degrees, slide it around somewhere else. This is where I wanted it. Opposite side of me and the gas tank, up tucked away with minimal bed space impacted, because sometimes you do want to use your truck for truck things on occasion. Once this is set and straight, you're going to mark the holes inside of this and drill those holes out. So the universal kit I picked up off Amazon came with two really long all-thread rods, bolts, I don't know, whatever you want to call them. They were like way too long. I think they had another 6 inches that I trimmed off of these with an angle grinder. But the way these are supposed to work is they come with a bunch of nuts. You put one here, push it up through the bottom of the bed, put your battery box on top of the bed, and then put a nut on here. So you're sandwiching the bottom of the bed and the box between two nuts. And then that squishes that down and creates this post. Now, is that doable, reaching underneath the truck and putting a bolt onto the bottom? Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt, and I'm not a huge fan of it because you could totally rattle one of these off. So I'm going to use an alternative. That alternative is going to be riv nuts, or rivet nuts if you want to use their full legal name. Basically what these do is you push these into a hole from like the top, use the tool to squish it, and it squishes that bottom side, which locks it into place on a piece of sheet metal, i.e. the bottom of the bed. And it basically creates a threaded hole. So the way you use this is you drill your hole, you take your riv nut tool, you thread your riv nut on, stick said riv nut with tool attached into said hole, make sure everything's level and has downward pressure on it, and then squeeze. Hit the gym! Hit the gym! And then you unscrew it from here. I think I tore a pec. And then just to make sure that we put this in there good, thread your rod in, and then give it a little wiggle to make sure your riv nut's not loose, which we're good. Riv nuts are in. You could clean up the metal shavings, but I'm lazy and I'm not going to do that. So take your box. Holes still line up. We're good. I will say that I probably should drill holes for battery terminals to go down into the truck. I'm going to do that on a different video.
I lied.
But you take your box, do a thumb width of threadage, make sure everything fits nicely. Those nuts are hand tight, and this is just already pretty sturdy, so I'm pretty happy with that. I did go out and buy wing nuts because I didn't want to have to thread nuts off or use a tool to tighten them. Now personally, I'm going to take this back apart and Loctite everything. So I'm going to Loctite where the all thread goes into the riv nut, and then also the nut that holds the box down onto the bed. Just because this is going to vibrate a lot, it's a vehicle, and we don't want that stuff unbolting itself. Cool. So now that the battery box is in place, we have to run power from the battery box to the front of the truck. Now the way I'm going to do that is through bulkheads. So how this bulkhead works is you're going to drill a hole in the fender or somewhere else on your vehicle, slide this through the hole, use this nut. It is insulated from the body and frame, so that bolts in, gets stuck there. You bolt up your power cable from your battery to this back side, and then all your stock connections bolt into this front side. What this basically does is it prevents you from having to rewire the entire truck. You can run battery wire from the back all the way back up to the front where your stock battery would have been, and tuck wires out of the way. Now this is under the passenger driver well. I know it's gross, but if you look, I've already ran power and ground. So I think I'm gonna go right here with my bulkheads. This seems to be out of the way enough to where it's not gonna get bumped by a tire, and everything's zip tied out of the way with 2 zip ties each. So that's redundancy, but I'm thinking here and here. Now, in order to get a hole saw up in there to drill holes for this bulkhead, I am going to need to take this wheel off. Now, in order to get this wheel off, I'm going to need to use my floor jack.
Hey, build the helicopter. And off to the rescue. thank you, Mom and Dad, for the birthday present.
My mic died, but this is Persuasion, my half-inch breaker bar. And here is me realizing I'm a moron because I didn't break the lug nuts loose while the truck was on the ground.
The microphone decided to shit the bed, so we are rocking with the phone microphone.
I'm rocking with Mark because Mark is rocking with us.
Holes are drilled. I'm going to take my fancy handy dandy deburring tool and run that along the edges. Now our bulkheads are installed and our wires are hooked up. And in case you're wondering if that rubs at full lock, the answer is might, but I subscribe to the school of around and find out. So we're going to find out. Okay, so the bulkheads are installed, and now all the front wiring for the original battery is attached to the bulkheads. I had to figure out some of the fan wiring for the electric fans that the dude who owned the truck before me put in, because for some reason he hated all normal wiring convention and decided to wire a positive with a black wire. Have I ever mentioned how much I love working on cars? Oh, I haven't? Anyways, here's what the bulkhead wiring looks like. These caps don't really go on, not a huge deal, but I might take them off in the future. I might leave them on. No, I never actually showed it, but the power wire and ground wire go into the frame, run all the way back, as you can see. It has to come out there because where that weld is, there's actually a plate that does not allow them to pass through, so I had to come outside of the frame, back into the frame on the other side of the plate, and all the way back to here, and then back out again. Now, the ground wire just comes out of the frame and back up through the truck bed, which will then be routed to the battery, which is in the battery box. But the power wire is going to do something a little bit different. That's because I'm going to mount a kill switch to the frame and hide it underneath the truck. Now, is this entirely necessary? Is someone going to steal my truck? A little bit. The main reason that I actually do want to install it is because there is a drain somewhere on my battery, and I'm pretty sure it's because the door switches to turn on the cabin lights don't squish in correctly because I removed the door panels, and so there's a constant drain on the battery. So I'm gonna put that battery shut off in there so I don't have to disconnect the battery every time I store this. I can just hit the kill switch. I know you like this high quality view, but I can't get under the truck and hold the camera at the same time. So as you can see, here's where my power wire is. And if you look, see that bronze riv nut right there? That's where we're gonna put our mount for our kill switch. All right, pardon my other truck running in the background, but the kill switch is installed. Everything is routed back into the bed. I still gotta throw another grommet right here, but once that's installed, I can put like battery clamps on this and install everything all together. So it's hard to see down there, but I've got 2 grommets in for both my cables. I'm leaving the extra in here just in case I need to rerun something. I probably should trim this, but it's probably fine. Just got them coiled up in here. I'm going to attach the mounts and then mount them to the battery. And for terminal connections, I'm just going to be using these random AC Doco clamps. All right, I got my terminal connections on. Now I'm just going to put these in the battery. Battery is safely back in. Hold down bars in place. We take the lid. Okay, there we go. That should be set. We're going to go try and see if the fuel pump turns on with the key. Okay, so in theory, everything should be wired up. So if something explodes, it's not my fault. Although I'm not an electrical engineer, but we'll see. Uh-oh. Now it's time to troubleshoot. Hey, do you ever just install a kill switch on your car and then forget you installed a kill switch and then wonder why the battery isn't working? I gotta turn the kill switch on. There we go. Like I said, I am not an electrical engineer. Now everything should work. Damn, I'm good. Not good at closing doors, apparently. And now we're all buttoned up here. Quick question for y'all. If you want to leave a comment, should I leave this as the raw aluminum, or should I use bed liner to kind of paint match it to the bed? And now that the box is buttoned up, that concludes the project on the truck. This has been me installing an Amazon battery relocation kit onto my S10. So I hope this helped you, whether you're throwing a small block Chevy, an LS, or just turboing a 4.3 that's already in your S10, or you really just wanted to relocate the battery because you felt like it. That's cool too. I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys, as always, to like and subscribe, interact with the video in some way. That always helps me out, and I appreciate it. Go ahead and comment some positive stuff, or if you think I did something wrong or weird and you want to critique me, go ahead and put that in the comment section below as well. Don't be a dick about it, and have a good rest of your day.